All right, let's talk about the battle for the number one class in America. And over the weekend, Ohio State strengthened their case for that number one class by landing the number two ranked linebacker in America, Riley Pettijohn. Now they have 23 commitments, Steve, but there's still a few big targets on the board, none bigger than David Sanders. Would you say at this point, David Sanders is the overall number one target right now for Ohio State?
Absolutely. I think he's probably been that guy for them the entire cycle, the coveted offensive tackle from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I like where Ohio State stands right now. Hayes Fawcett breaks the news last night, decision date for August 17th. How about that top four, Josh? We have the longtime front runners we've been promoting, Ohio State and Tennessee, Georgia, who has been at or near the top at times in that recruitment, and then Nebraska. He's been to the Lincoln one time, Mother's Day weekend, official visit. And I think what kind of turned him on to Nebraska initially was Dylan Raiola flipping his verbal commitment from Georgia to Lincoln. And I know he's been very involved in trying to recruit David Sanders to campus. They had a phenomenal official visit. There's a lot of resources being poured into Nebraska football right now. We'll see if David Sanders takes a couple more visits in July now during that week they go live at the end of the month before he announces his decision August 17th. But as I sit here and talk to you this morning, I still give the inch or two to Ohio State. Certainly wouldn't be surprised if he picked Tennessee. Georgia remains one of the heavy contenders. And we'll see if Nebraska gets a chance to continue rising in this recruitment. They've quietly done as much. He put out a top 7. They weren't in it. They get an official visit. Then he puts out a top 4 and they're in it. So I thought that was an interesting school in the mix there as Matt Rule and company try and battle for one of the nation's best. But if Ohio State's going to finish number one nationally, David Sanders could be the recruit that sews that up for him.
Yep, he could be the one that just puts everybody else out of reach. Ohio State also has a couple other offensive line options on board. They have 2 committed. They have David Sanders, but also Javon McFadden and Josh Petty. What do you think the odds are that they could land one or both of those guys?
Well, I think if they're pushing for Javon McFadden, he's a guy that could ultimately end up in the class. He's been to campus several times. Colorado's an interesting school to watch in that recruitment. He's one of the high school guys Deion Sanders and his staff have keyed in on. And then Josh Petty, he's currently in Poland on a trip. When he gets back, he's supposed to start zeroing in on his college decision. We'll see if he does something this summer or in the fall. I was talking to colleague Chad Simmons about that this morning. Florida State's the on 3 RPM pick, but Georgia Tech's in the middle of that one, Stanford too. But Ohio State's trying to show Josh Petty, hey, we run a balanced offense here that's conducive to your skill set. He's really enjoyed being on campus, being around the players on the team. So I think that they're a dark horse in the sweepstakes for Josh Petty.
Ohio State has 2 running back commitments. Steve, are they looking for a third?
Yeah, I think with losing Travion Henderson and Quinshawn Judkins following the season, Ohio State would love to add a third back to this class, guys that are physically ready to play on day one. They already have that with Bo Jackson and Isaiah West, and there's a couple more targets out there. Shakai Mills-Knight is a running back out of Tennessee who's going to visit later this month. Now, I think Ohio State trails a few teams right now, Ole Miss, Auburn, and Miami. But with him coming to campus, we'll see if they can make a move. Carlos Laughlin's been one of the more electric recruiters in the country this cycle. And then Anthony Turbo Rogers, currently committed to Alabama. He's been on Ohio State's campus. I think he'll take an official visit this fall. He's a guy that I kind of have marked as a potential flip candidate for the Buckeyes down the road.
All right, wide receiver board. What's Ohio State's best case for the wide receiver class at this point? We know a couple guys are off the board, including DeCorian Moore. They're out of it for Jamie French, and also it doesn't look like Vernell Brown is going to be in Columbus either.
Well, they already have 3 committed right now, headlined by Quincy Porter out of the state of New Jersey. They would like to sign 4 this cycle. Phillip Bell from California, Mission Viejo, is one that Chad Simmons and I have forecasted to Ohio State on the on 3 RPM. They're also battling for Dalen McCutcheon. Maybe they evaluate some senior film on some guys and try and get a flip or find someone else they like. But Phillip Bell is that guy from California that we like Ohio State's position for right now at this point in the summer.
All right, what else does Ohio State need in 2025?
One more flip target that Ohio State's looking to land is Malik Autry, 4-star defensive lineman from Alabama, currently committed to Auburn. Malik Autry's made some rounds, been on a lot of campuses this summer, but I view Ohio State right now as the biggest threat to Auburn to flip Malik Autry, and he would be another key addition as they try and finish off with the number 1 class.